Cancelled trains, cancelled flights, highways blocked by furious farmers. The fourth largest economy in the world had a rocky start to the year. Germany, which rose to the ranks of the economic powerhouse of Europe, is now being called the sick man of Europe yet again. But what's worse is the fact that if Germany fails, it'll take the entire continent down with it. And from the looks of it, that future might not be far off. Now, the question is, can Germany make a comeback like it did before? Let's hit that like button for this video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing videos in the future. Welcome to Money Minded World. It's safe to say that Germany is in deep trouble. Train drivers went on strike in January over a salary dispute, and farmers blocked roads in protest over proposed subsidy cuts. Shortly after, the Lufthansa ground crew went on strike, making it the third industrial action to disrupt travel in recent months. The widespread strikes in a country known for its strict legislative protections for workers' rights highlight the severity of the illness afflicting Germany. For the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic began, Europe's largest economy shrank last year, and things aren't looking good for 2024 either. According to the International Monetary Fund, German GDP will expand at the weakest rate of any major economy in 2024, at just 0.5%. As the economy struggles to recover from a prolonged period of high energy prices, steep borrowing costs, and weak domestic and international demand for German goods, most pessimistic forecasts predict a complete drop in production for the second year running. Official statistics revealed that industrial production in Germany declined for the seventh consecutive month in December, its longest ever slump, highlighting the continued impact of the energy crisis caused by Russia's war in Ukraine. But the question is, why is Germany suffering so much? Massive labor reforms in the late 1990s, coupled with rising demand in emerging markets and China, enabled Germany to generate robust economic development for over 20 years, which created millions of jobs. But now it seems like the country's renowned economic model is falling apart. Outdated physical and digital infrastructure in Germany is a major drag on production, and the country is also plagued by labor shortages and bureaucracy. To illustrate the need for digitization, consider the following statistic. Just 19% of homes have high-speed internet through fiber optic connections, whereas the average across the EU is 56%. This data is sourced from a recent report by the European Commission. A complete and utter economic revolution is what is required, according to economists. According to Marcel Fratscher, president of the German Institute for Economic Research in Berlin, Germany requires a comprehensive economic overhaul, as he stated to CNN. The German government must reinvent its industry over the next decade if it is to overcome its greatest challenge in the next 2 years. Machinery, automobiles, tools, and chemicals are some of the most exported items from Germany, and their demand is sensitive to macroeconomic conditions. However, the present recession has also revealed systematic problems with the country's economic efficiency that have been building up over time. Among the factors cited by economists are the high corporate tax rates, the country's infrastructure investment gap, and the fast-aging population. And a further 0.5% drop in output is anticipated in 2024. The rejection of nuclear power and the enormous energy demands of Germany's industrial base pose a longer-term threat, as does the country's competitiveness in the electric vehicle industry. However, the administration has made some cautious moves in that regard. In response to a lack of available workers, the government has encouraged investment, provided financing for new businesses, expedited the approval of infrastructure projects, and relaxed immigration regulations for qualified individuals. But much more is needed. So is the country up for the task? For state institutions to successfully navigate fast social, economic, and geopolitical change, they must be open, flexible, and able to make quick decisions, something that the German bureaucracy lacks. For example, there's a huge digital divide with the remainder of Europe. Compared to Sweden's 8%, Germany's 40% of point-of-sale payments were made in cash last year. Not to mention, Germany's internet speeds are way behind those of the rest of Europe. According to the president of the country's Digital Industries Association, Bitkom, Germany is a failed state when it comes to digital government services. The processing time for building permits, operating licenses, and company registrations elections is significantly greater than the average time in the European Union. This administration is often criticized for being too slow, too legalistic, too cautious, and in need of extensive reform. All of these things have a structural impact on productivity. But to make matters worse, politicians in Germany have limited influence due to the constitution's strict limits on government borrowing, which might halt ambitious expenditure projects. After being temporarily suspended due to the epidemic and the war in Ukraine, the limits were resumed in this year's budget. The global head of macroeconomics at Dutch bank ING, Carsten Bresky, stated that any overhaul of the economy will be almost impossible as long as fiscal austerity remains the dominant trend. So, the corporate world will have to spearhead structural changes instead. But that poses another problem: Germany's broken business model. Germany has a history of overcoming challenges. The country's Wirtschaftswunder, or economic miracle, in the 1950s and 60s was a particularly remarkable period following WW2. But after the reunification in the 1990s, the country's economy struggled, earning it the nickname Sick Man of Europe. However, with the aid of exports, cheap gas from Russia, and growth in China, the economy was able to recover from the 2008 financial crisis, thanks in large part to labor market reforms. So one can assume that Germany can make another comeback, but Germany's problems are way deeper than just economics. Many German exports, especially those involving automobiles, are in jeopardy because of China's sluggish economic growth and its rise to production rivalry. The electric car industry in China, spearheaded by BYD and other Chinese companies, has outpaced Germany's automotive exports, which has repercussions for both Volkswagen and thousands of European suppliers. Things don't look good back home either, because German brands like Volkswagen, Porsche, and Mercedes have relied on cheaper natural gas for longer than they should have, resulting in these giants being late to the EV party. Today, Elon Musk's Tesla has overtaken Germany's own brands thanks to its gigafactory in Berlin. Several parts of Germany's economy have taken a hit due to natural gas price surges, which have been made worse by geopolitical events like Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the country's decision to phase out nuclear power. New challenges are emerging for Germany's economy, which may necessitate reassessing strategic dependencies and adjusting to changing global dynamics. So what is the government doing about it? About 82% of German voters are unhappy with Olaf Scholz's performance so far in his 4-year mandate. Not to mention, Scholz's SPD is now in third place, behind the center-right CDU-CSU and the far-right AfD. Meanwhile, the Greens' popularity ratings are at a 5-year low, and the FDP has seen a third of its support erode. The coalition took office promising to overhaul the country's infrastructure and address the many issues it inherited, but the country's present crises have tested its ability to fulfill that promise. The administration was already perceived as ineffectual, and to make matters worse, the Constitutional Court handed down a harsh ruling late last year, causing a multi-billion euro budget crisis by ruling that the 2024 budget violated budgetary standards specified in the Constitution. Because of the ruling, the German government was unable to transfer 60 billion euros from its pandemic emergency reserve to a climate and transformation fund that would have helped finance the country's sustainability efforts and industrial modernization, making it hard for the country to move towards a sustainable future, something that the entire world is aiming for. Not only that, but there's also a deadlock between the Greens and the FDP on social and environmental spending. The FDP wants drastic budget cuts, while the Greens are unwilling to bend from their position on the constitutional debt brake, and the SPD is caught between the two camps. But one of the biggest reasons for Germany's economic decline is its labor shortage. The talent crunch is on the horizon, and the data presents an interesting picture. According to the IFO Research Institute in Munich, the severe lack of trained workers had an impact on 49.7% of German businesses in July 2022. Worse yet is the fact that there is a shortage of qualified personnel in addition to the impending wave of retirements. At the same time, Germany's labor deficit hit a record level with 1.74 million open positions nationwide, according to the Institute for Employment Research. The refugee crisis in Germany, which is primarily a humanitarian issue, further complicates the country's talent pool. The skilled labor shortage is still a major issue, even though Germany has taken in more than 1 million Ukrainian migrants, including many children and women who are expected to go back home. Leaving aside the economic and industrial undercurrents, the political winds in Germany are an interesting story in and of themselves. An important obstacle in Germany's way to economic recovery is political stability, or the absence thereof. These issues gave AfD the perfect gateway to present itself as the better option in German politics. However, at the start of the year, news broke that high-ranking AfD members had gotten together to plot a master plan to deport immigrants in large numbers, heightening concerns about the party's ascent. The AfD leadership has denied any involvement in the meeting, but the allegations have led to massive anti-AfD demonstrations in several large German towns. But what does this mean for Europe as a whole? Well, imagine this. The once solid foundation of Europe, Germany, is now in jeopardy. If Germany continues to sway, the European Union could collapse. Based on past events, it appears to be a signal for ambitious groups to intervene. When Germany is weak, other countries may see an opportunity to impose their will, even if it goes against the principles that the European Union stands for: democracy, human rights, and freedom. These aren't made-up situations, they're the news stories of the day. Poland's Kaczynski, Hungary's Viktor Orban, and French Marine Le Pen all have opposing perspectives on Europe's future. In spite of how unlikely it is that the European Union will soon collapse, the instability in Germany might trigger a chain reaction. If other member states of the European Union, swayed by Eurosceptics, reevaluate their loyalty to the bloc, a weaker union could be on the cards. Nevertheless, Germany's resiliency has been repeatedly demonstrated throughout history. Germany has proven over and over again that it can overcome challenges, showing its resilience through its rise and fall from financial crises to world wars and divisions. But what do you think? Will Germany be able to make a comeback and avoid a collapse, or is it already too late? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. As always, thank you for tuning in today.